Have you ever met someone who felt eerily familiar? Someone who knew things about you they shouldn't, a presence so intense, so unshakable, it felt like destiny pulling you together. Some call it fate, others call it a nightmare. Maybe it's déjà vu, maybe it's a trick of the mind, but what if it's something else? A connection that is never supposed to exist, a bond that defies reason, a force that brings two people together, even when it shouldn't. Some believe these connections are written in the stars, a soul split into two bodies, destined to reunite. But what if not all reunions are meant to last? What if one was always meant to disappear? Tonight, we explore the terrifying truth behind these impossible connections. Stories of twin souls lost in time, eerie synchronicities that can't be explained, and encounters with something or someone that should not exist. The question isn't whether they're real, it's whether you'll ever be able to look at the world the same way again. There are stories that make us question what it means to be human. This is one of them. Two sisters identical in every way, yet trapped in a world no one else could enter. They shared a language no one understood, a bond so deep it defied logic, and a fate so chilling it left behind more questions than answers. June and Jennifer Gibbons weren't like other children. From the moment they could speak, they refused to. Not to their parents, not to their teachers, not to anyone but each other. But this wasn't just childhood shyness, this was something much darker, because when they did speak, it wasn't like anything anyone had ever heard before. Every child learns to speak, to communicate, to reach out, but what if two children decided not to? June and Jennifer Gibbons were born on April 11th, 1963, in a quiet town in Wales. From the very beginning, they were inseparable, a bond tighter than that of any siblings, deeper than words could explain. But there was something else, something the world around them noticed almost immediately. They wouldn't talk, not to their teachers, not to their classmates, not even to their own family. At first, it was seen as shyness, something they would grow out of. But as the years passed, it became clear this wasn't ordinary silence. This was something deliberate. Even when spoken to directly, they refused to respond. Instead, they would stand completely still, staring ahead as if lost in another world. If one twin moved, the other did the exact same thing at the exact same time. If one turned her head, the other followed with perfect precision, as if they weren't two people, but one mind split between two bodies. It wasn't long before the school labeled them unreachable. Other children whispered about them. Teachers grew frustrated, and their own parents didn't know what to do. But what no one knew was that June and Jennifer were talking. They just weren't talking to anyone else. They had created a language of their own, a secret dialect that only they could understand, spoken in whispers, in rapid murmurs no one else could decode. They weren't just ignoring the world, they were locking it out. At home, things weren't any different. Their mother Gloria and their father Aubrey were loving parents. They tried to understand their daughters, but nothing worked. June and Jennifer weren't just shy, they were detached. Even among their siblings, they remained in their own world. They spoke only to each other in rapid, hushed tones that no one could understand. Their voices overlapped, their words blended into a dialect that no one else could decipher. At first, their parents tried to separate them, hoping it would force them to communicate with others. But the moment they were apart, their bodies shut down. They would freeze in place, barely moving, barely speaking at all. Hours would pass, and neither twin would say a word, not even to themselves. It was as if they weren't two individuals, but one mind, split in half. And then something even stranger happened. They began mirroring each other in ways that defied explanation. If June took a step, Jennifer took the same step at the exact same time. If Jennifer blinked, June blinked in perfect synchronization. It was subconscious, automatic, as if they were controlled by an invisible force. It was as if they weren't just sisters. They were two bodies, but only one soul. As the years passed, the silence between June and Jennifer didn't fade. It deepened. They were no longer just twins. They had become something else, something inseparable, a single entity living in two bodies. By the time they reached their teenage years, their secret world had become an obsession. Inside their bedroom, they weren't silent. They spoke, but only to each other. Hours would pass as they whispered in their self-made language, their voices overlapping in a perfect chaotic rhythm. They wrote in secret too, pages and pages of diaries filled with cryptic messages, confessions, and strange thoughts that no one else was ever meant to see. And then their bond turned dark. Hidden in their journals were thoughts that no one should ever have to write. June and Jennifer no longer saw their connection as something beautiful. They saw it as a curse. In their diaries, they wrote about how they felt trapped inside each other, how they hated one another, yet could never break apart. Jennifer wrote, "We have become enemies in each other, a deadly pair. We walk through the same path of life. We are one person. We two made one." June wrote, "One of us must die." It wasn't just obsession anymore. It was war. They began to believe that for one of them to truly live, the other had to die. If silence was their first rebellion, crime became their second. As teenagers, June and Jennifer didn't just write about destruction. They started living it. They began committing petty thefts, sneaking out late at night and breaking into nearby buildings. At first it was small acts of rebellion, but soon it escalated. One night they made a decision that changed everything. They set fire to a tractor dealership. Flames erupted into the sky, consuming everything in their path. And they didn't run. They stood there side by side, watching the destruction they had created. The fire spread rapidly, causing nearly $200,000 in damages. When the authorities arrived, the twins didn't resist. They didn't even speak. They simply stared as if they knew this moment had been coming all along. Their arrest was inevitable. June and Jennifer were charged with arson, theft, and vandalism. But what disturbed the authorities most wasn't the crime itself. It was their reaction to it. They didn't argue. They didn't plead. They didn't even show emotion. They sat in silence side by side, refusing to explain why they did it. When their case went to trial, psychiatrists were brought in. And what they found was unlike anything they had ever seen before. The twins weren't just criminals, they weren't just delinquents, they were something else entirely. The judge didn't sentence them to prison. Instead, he made a decision that would change their lives forever. He sent them to Broadmoor Hospital, one of the most notorious high-security psychiatric institutions in the country. And that was when their real nightmare began. Broadmoor Hospital wasn't just a hospital, it was a prison for the criminally insane, a place where some of the most dangerous minds in the country were locked away. Serial killers, violent offenders, psychopaths, and now June and Jennifer Gibbons were among them. Sentenced indefinitely, the twins weren't treated like ordinary teenagers. They weren't given a release date. They weren't given hope. They were locked away, and for 12 long years they remained there. But inside those walls, something far more disturbing began to unfold. Their connection, their eerie, unbreakable bond grew stronger, but so did their hatred for each other. Jennifer wrote in her diary, "We are both trapped. We are both in a dark world, both dead to the world. "We have no friends. We are two people in one body." June wrote, "She wants to kill me. I can feel it. She is plotting my death, but maybe I am plotting hers first." It was no longer just about being together. It was about who would survive. For over a decade, they were locked away, speaking only to each other. But as the years passed, the whispers between them turned into something else, a plan, a chilling, irreversible decision. One of them had to die, but not in anger, not in revenge. It was a sacrifice, a silent agreement that only one could walk free. Their final diary entries revealed their truth. "One of us must go. We cannot live together in this world. One of us must go and be free." And so they made a pact. Jennifer would die and June would live. March 9th, 1993. The twins were being transferred to a lower security hospital. It should have been a fresh start, a chance to finally leave Broadmoor behind, but Jennifer never made it. On the bus ride to their new facility, Jennifer suddenly became unresponsive. Her breathing slowed. Her body went limp. By the time they arrived, she was gone. The cause, a sudden, inexplicable heart failure. No drugs, no poison, no sign of trauma. She simply died for no reason at all. No doctor could explain it. No test could reveal the cause. And here's where it gets even stranger. In the days leading up to their transfer, Jennifer had told multiple staff members that she was going to die soon. She had accepted it. She had prepared for it. And June, she didn't seem surprised. She didn't panic. She didn't cry. She just sat there, silent, as if she had known all along, as if it had been agreed upon. She later told journalists, "Jennifer had to die. She just went to sleep in peace. I am free now." And just like that, the bond that had lasted a lifetime was broken. After Jennifer's death, something changed. June began to live. She was released from the hospital just a year later. She no longer refused to speak. She began to write again, but she never truly explained what had happened. She never revealed why Jennifer had to die. To this day, June Gibbons remains a mystery. She lives quietly away from the public eye. No one knows what she thinks. No one knows what she remembers. And perhaps she wants to keep it that way, because some truths, they were never meant to be spoken. Was June and Jennifer's bond something more than just sibling connection? Could their eerie synchronicity, their shared consciousness, and even Jennifer's mysterious death be evidence of something far more mysterious? Some believe June and Jennifer were not just twins, they were twin flames. A twin flame is said to be more than just a soulmate. It is the idea that one soul is split into two bodies, two halves of the same consciousness, destined to reunite in life after life. But here's where it gets even stranger. Many believe that twin flames are not meant to exist together for long. Their connection is too intense, too overwhelming. In many cases, one must leave, one must die, so the other can fulfill their true purpose. Sound familiar? The idea of twin flames is not just about connection. It's about the inevitable pull and the unbearable separation. It is said that when twin flames meet, their energy is too powerful for the world to contain. They will either elevate each other or destroy each other. June and Jennifer felt this at a level no one else could understand. They were not just sisters. They were bound by something much greater, something they could never escape. June and Jennifer mirrored each other in ways no normal twins do. They moved at the same time. They breathed at the same time. They even shut down when separated. This level of physical and mental synchronization is unheard of. Their connection was both a gift and a curse. Unlike most twin relationships, June and Jennifer felt trapped by each other. They were not just connected, they were fused. They felt as if they could not exist as individuals, only as one. They spoke of needing to separate, but they didn't mean physically. They meant one had to die. In twin flame beliefs, this is called runner and chaser. One twin must leave, often through tragedy, so the other can complete their journey. Jennifer's death followed the twin flame pattern exactly. She knew she was going to die. She accepted it. June felt no surprise, as if this was meant to happen. And the moment Jennifer was gone, June was finally free. So we ask, did Jennifer die naturally? Or was this the universe correcting something that was never meant to be? If June and Jennifer Gibbons were truly twin flames, then what happened to them wasn't just tragic, it was inevitable. A bond too strong to exist in one lifetime. A connection that could never be broken, only severed by fate itself. But if twin flames are real, what does that mean for the rest of us? What if you have already met your twin flame? What if your other half is still out there waiting? Or worse, what if they were never meant to survive?